Hi guys, good morning. Welcome to the channel. My name is Sahil, and welcome to the channel yet again on May 11th. And we are discussing the live update, the weekly live. We are here every week, and we try to give you latest updates, what's happening in the world of Canadian immigration. And today, again, we are here with lots of updates. A very important burning question that what to expect in the upcoming draws of Express Entry. Will there be a CSE draw? If there will be a CSE draw, what scores to expect? Will there be a sub 500 draw? Can we expect scores in 400s? In fact, some people are mentioning all over social media that Express Entry is coming to an end. So we will take over all those burning questions today. We are here with a couple of travel advisory updates as well. Um, Not only that, there was a PNP update last week, so we will have a look at that, and along with that we will also have a look at your Q&A, all the questions and answers. You can start pouring in your questions during the feed today, and we will take a look at them even during the feed or maybe towards the end as well. So today's discussion is going to be very, very interesting because, as always, closer to my heart is Express Entry. And we all know Express Entry has been around with us for almost a decade now. It's been almost 10 years, a little over 10 years when Express Entry was announced. And so far, it has played a very important, a very vital role in the last decade, especially ever since the Liberals came into power. But the overall feeler of Canadian immigration, as I understand, has been going down. The sentiments are on an all-time low. That's just not me, but that's the number of applications that have been coming from a majority of the countries. For example, from India, right now the number of study permit applications are down about 60%, and the refusal rates also are on an all-time high. Um, which was pretty much expected because this was already announced by Canadian Immigration during the last, the electoral season that was ongoing. The immigration minister and the prime minister, who was supposed to be in power back then, and right now we already have the new prime minister, had already announced that they have planned caps for the temporary residents as well. Now, as we know so far, they want to cap the temporary resident population in Canada to less than 5% by the year 2027. So, if the Canadian population is setting at close to 45 million or say 50 million, so 45 million is a reasonable number. By 2027, the cap or the number of temporary residents which will be expected to hit Canada or will be in Canada on a yearly basis, on a roll to roll basis, should be closer to 5%, which is close to 2.5 million. Okay. So that's the kind of numbers that we are projecting for or we are looking towards. And right now, because the Liberals are already in power, so that is the number that we're looking at. In terms of in terms of permanent residents, it was an interesting number. They said that yes, in terms of permanent residents, we are looking at um, close to a number less than 1%. Okay, now if we are sitting at a population of approximately 45 million people, less than 1% would be people close to four and a half, 450,000, or somewhere close to that. But right now, under the Liberal leadership, we have an immigration levels plan which is looking at almost 350,000 people year on year. At least that is what the immigration levels plan says for 2025, 2026, and 2027. We are supposed to get a new immigration levels plan somewhere around the month of November that will give us a more a better projection. And also we are expecting the new cabinet to be announced by day after tomorrow, which is Tuesday, 13th of May. Once the new cabinet comes in, and this time the cabinet will be interesting because the prime minister expects to have a closer group of uh, specific, the core members of, or the the ministers, the core group of ministers, and then there'll be a two tiered cabinet where there'll be the external group as well. So the immigration minister, if continues to be same, which is the current one, or Rachel Bandan before the the elections, then we can expect she has a good experience. She's coming from a legal background, so she has good experience in the in formulating policies, working close with policymakers. But yes, even if we have a newer, immigration minister, I expect the Liberal government to have very specific targets, because if you look at the unemployment rate in Canada at the moment, and this was all over the news recently. The unemployment rate right now is sitting at 6.9% in the month of April. Okay, and this is matching the pre-pandemic high. Not only that, the numbers around housing have finally improved. So one indicator is saying that the housing. Let me just bring that up on the screen as well. Um, yes. So Canada's housing market is preparing for a shift. Um, Prices have dropped, rentals have eased, and the government plans to cap the temporary residents. As the government has already worked on this, the rentals and the prices have fallen approximately 23%. The condo market is also having a lot of inventory which is unsold, which only projects that one end of the spectrum is working fine, which is the real estate or the housing crisis part, which was actually one of the major reasons which was used in preparing for the elections. On the other hand, unemployment in Canada is still on an all-time high. Now, unemployment cannot be linked to temporary residents only, because there is the American policies, Trump's policies, that have also played a lot of picture. But unfortunately, while the housing has improved, the job market has not improved. In fact, there are several job cuts, job losses in the brink, or in the eye of an upcoming recession. While US is gearing up for a recession, Canada obviously is a shadow country to US at the moment, and we expect that we also might be hitting recession. If that so happens, I think the first thing that will take a hit when it comes to the upcoming policies would be temporary foreign worker policies. Within that, I think the first one to take a hit would be the low wage LMIS. That might take a longer hit. Temporary foreign worker program, the TFWP, I think requires a big overhaul at the moment, and the government will or should be looking at overhauling that particular program. Apart from that, the loss of job points or the arranged employment points in the express entry has actually caused a lot of stir up. I actually have been receiving tons of messages and comments all across social media that what exactly will happen, how the loss of job points is going to make up for the upcoming points, and I believe there's a lot of mixed opinions altogether. Let's just have a look at the pool first, and then I will take you how and where I'm coming on with respect to the number of draws, what are the categories to be expected in the future. That is interesting. Um, right now, if you look at the pool of candidates, we are sitting at an all-time high of close to 246,000 people. By the way, this number is higher than the number that was announced 2 months ago. So 2 months ago, when and before, when there was actually the job cuts or the points started dropping, this is before that. Um, 246,000, that is still very high. But what's interesting to see is that still we have people between 501 and 600. There are about 20,700 people. Now, guys, it is important for us to note that people were expecting that between 500 and 600, a lot of people will lose points or people would be out of the pool, which did not really happen. Um, Close to 30%, within that section, close to 30% files got affected. But still, I think 20,700, almost 21,000 people is still a very high number. Minus the above 600, they're close to about 416 people. Those are PNP candidates anyways. So what is left now is to deal with 21,000 people approximately. IRCC at the moment has an immigration levels plan of in Canada applications of close to 82,000 people. Okay. Now, for the 82,000 people, there's a separate PNP and economic mobility pathways and all of that. There is another 41, 42,000 people who are supposed to be in that category, which brings us close to 123,000, 124,000 worth of a total intake capacity in the year of 2025. Keeping in mind that there will be a lot of people who will not land in this particular year, or people who will be landing in the next year, because post um, the third quarter, the draws that happen this year will be landing in the next year. Okay, so right now, looking at the landing numbers for this particular year, 123 or 125,000, to be precise, that's the number of people who will be landing in Canada. Obviously, the number of draws will be lesser than that. Okay, keeping in mind all of those figures, I think we still have a decently available size of quota in Canada, or the Canadian experience class category, that is left over. Let's just look at the before I tell you what is my thinking, let's just look at the number of draws that have happened so far in the year of 2025. um, the PNP 471. Okay, Canadian experience class, there has been 1, 2, and 3 draws only, which has invited close to, say, about 8,000 something number of people. And then there has been no Canadian experience class since February 5th, 2025. This is the cause of major concern amongst the public at the moment, right? Now, we have had a lot of French speaking draws, and still, honestly, there is a lot of capacity available for another couple of draws for French as well. Keeping in mind, the number of draws that happen is also very, very important. Right now, the number of French draws is hitting close to 18,000 people, because 7,500, and this is close to 18,000 people. And then we have had a couple of PNP draws, and that's about it. The only category that draw that happened so far in this particular year was the health category draw. That too was surprisingly kept at 510, because the size of that draw was very small. So, in my opinion, um, I believe there are a lot of Canadian experience class draws that will happen, or that should happen. We are roughly looking at 20,700 people in the pool at the moment, between 500 and 600. Keeping in mind that more people will get added to this, some people might see their expiring profiles. I'm expecting close to 1,000 or 1,500 people get added every month, and the number of draws getting rejected. I think, give or take 6 to 7 draws, if IRCC decides to hold those draws back to back, then I think there might just be a possibility that IRCC, um, you know, I think there is an issue with the internet. Just give me a quick second. Let me just switch over. I think we are back. Yes. Okay. I sorry about that. There was a bit of a hiccup in the internet that was streaming. But yes. So going towards the expected draws, I believe Canada has to first look at clearing the 21,000 plus the expected number of people coming in that section again, close to about 25 to 28,000, or maybe about 30,000 people at max. Clearing that would require another 7 to 8 draws. Okay, considering each draw is 3,500 worth of a size. So if we do a clear, an easy math of just having 3,500 draws, 35 people worth of a draw, invitation worth of a draw, multiplied by, say, approximately 8 draws, that is the number that would be required, in my opinion, to clear the round of people between 500 and 600, and then going towards a sub 500 draw. Do we have the capacity to do that? Yes. Right now, the numbers that we are seeing, at least for the landing numbers of this year, considering the draws that happened before this year, also we have to look at the draws that happened in the end of 2024 as well. So if you look at 2024, just- let me just get that. Yes. So if you look at 2024, we have had a couple of draws here. Um, so I'm looking at approximately draws worth September. any and every draw around this so far is the number that should be landing in Canada, should be landing within 2025. So this is also going to bite into the number of landing permanent residents in this particular year. Number of ITAs, you're looking at close to about 12,000, 13,000, and say another 2,000 here. So say 14 and 15, 16 or 17,000, people. This would translate into approximately say 30,000 people landing this year, minus the number of people who could have potentially rejected or refused their draws, or IRCC could have rejected their files. I'm expecting 25,000 people have already pumped in from this category from last year. Okay, that is going to be reduced from the 82,000. So we still have a lot of space left, minus the French category draw, which is approximately 29,000 and odd, and then minus the 41,000 people of the category. So I think we're still about close to 40,000 worth of a quota left, anywhere between 40 to 50,000 worth of a quota left for this year. And then that is the kind of that is the landing number, that is the people who will be landing. Okay, divided um, divided by 2.5, approximately 2.5 is the number of draws. Then I think about 20,000 worth of quota, in my opinion, should be left with IRCC at the moment for Canadian experience class specifically. Yes. So, in a short answer, I think there is a lot of potential left in Canadian experience class for this particular year. And people should still be positive about Canadian experience class. We have only had, a couple of hiccups because the technical glitches that IRCC faced in the past 3 months. So, if you remember 2024, 2023, both the years, somewhere around this portion, IRCC did have um, the draws getting paused again. Last year also it got paused. The year before also that got paused. And I believe they do this. And it has become a sort of a trend also, because IRCC has to see what kind of expiring COPRs and what kind of landing numbers happen in this year, so that they can prepare for the balance of the year as well. That also could be one of the agenda, could be one of the preparations, because the COPRs issued last year for people who were outside, could have very well had their landings now, right? Like they could have had their ECOPRs issued and all of that. So that also I think is a very important thing that we should give to IRCC. So all in all, I think yes, there's a lot of potential left in express entry at the moment. And hey, from last year, the numbers of IRCC or inside Canada applicants, it is still better than 2024, and it is way better than 2023. So there is no need to be worried about. I think at the moment IRCC is fine with it. Well, that probably should take care of a lot of questions like 509. Is there a chance? Yes, I just explained that. So I believe, Parneet, you can have a look at the video from the start. That will give you my insights into what's expected, right? So that's pretty much what I have to say. Overall, I think first of all, the events that have been happening with regards to the potential war that happened between India and Pakistan, very unfortunate from both ends. I hope everybody on both ends is very very safe, keeping health at prime importance. Canada has announced travel advisories for India and Pakistan both, and this particular is effective as of May 7th. If you look at the advisory at the moment, um, they are saying that travel advice, there is a possible attack of terrorism in Chandigarh, Mumbai, except in and around Bangalore, Chandigarh, Mumbai, and this particular advisory has been generated by IRCC. If you look at the other countries as well, um, Pakistan is also avoid all non-essential travel at this moment with regional advisory. This has also been there. So at this moment, both the countries have been put on high alert, and IRCC, Canadian Immigration, is recommending not to travel to unless very important. And obviously, these travel advisories were announced by the US government as well. They had actually advised a lot of their uh, people in the embassy to stay indoors. And while the ceasefire has been announced, and I hope that stays in place and things get better. So yes, that is the update around the travel advisory. But what's important to see is that Steinbach, in terms of the RCIP, the Rural Community Immigration Pilot Program, Steinbach has come back and they have announced their in-demand skills. They've decided their in-demand occupations, and these are the people who will be invited by Steinbach. Very important to see. And if for all those who don't know, where Steinbach is a smaller community. In fact, we just had one of our clients move to Steinbach under Kuzma work permit. She's invested quite a bigger amount in that community. But yes, Steinbach is a community based out of Manitoba, very close to the border, but very small, very nice community. And people who want to move there, who are already there, can consider this, because the community is dedicated to inviting people in professional accounting, say professional occupations in advertising, which is very rare to see. I believe this is one of the rare. Um, this is one of the rare RCIPs which has actually invited people in marketing. We have people in accounting, we have agriculture, business system specialists. So these are IT related. Also, I haven't seen IT specific. The first one, business system. Then you have industrial manufacturing engineers, construction estimators. Then you have RPNs, licensed practical nurses, nurse aides, massage therapists, pharmacy technicians. Then we do have early childhood. 42202 is right across the board, right? It's everywhere. FSS is their food service supervisor. Not to forget, they have included insurance agents as well, construction managers, welders, heavy duty equipment mechanics, and then electrical mechanics. I think overall, Steinbach's selection of eligible or priority NOC codes is very, very interesting. They have included people from marketing, they have included people from construction, people from accounting, then they have food service supervisors, and they have people in massage therapists, and then obviously early childhood educators 42202. It's a very wholesome sort of a occupation list, the target occupation list. Obviously, you have to keep in mind that you should move to the community only if you have perspectives of a job, because RCIP, before you move, you should keep in mind two things. One, you should look at the possibility of the quotas for that particular community, which can be very, very low, at least lower than what you generally expect in terms of draws. Second thing to keep in mind will be that do you have a job in that particular community? Because RCIP as a program is developed under the scrutiny of a designated employer list by the community. So, couple of steps will go in your eligibility for the RCIP program, the designated employer's availability, the support from the designated employer, you fitting into the program, getting the approval from the community or the RCIP program, the community officer, and then finally applying for a PR. Before you call moving into that particular community for finding a job, do keep in mind that are you able to fit into these requirements based on your current job scenario and also the availability of your work permit. In a nutshell, it is very important to see that is it worth moving to that community before you even get to that. It is very important to do that. All right. From the other news sections, I believe IRCC has from IRCC, the focus is now moving towards British Columbia. British Columbia held a draw on May 8th, 2025, and this was a very interesting draw, guys. Um, the um, the number of people invited in this particular draw is very interesting. They have sent invitations to 94 candidates who will be having a lot of impact on the economy. What's important to see here is that the minimum wage of these people who have been invited in BC is sitting at $105 an hour. Now, for all those who don't know, your points in BC PNP get affected by how much money are you earning on an hourly basis. So this recent draw said that NOC code 0 and 1, 47 people were invited. And for those people, they had a job offer from British Columbia and their jobs were paid at $105 an hour. That's the first point. Second, another 47 candidates were invited with a minimum score of 150 points in BC. So, BC, because they have a quota left of approximately 1100 people only, as they had projected, because they had very fewer inventory size available, because of the newer inventory that was allocated to them was very low. Hence, they are making very close calls in rather what kind of people will be invited for PR and BC. They did say that they will be mainly inviting people in health and education category, but this particular draw, they haven't talked about the NOC codes. It's a very closed sort of an invitation, that we are seeing. But yes, overall, 94 people have been invited in British Columbia, and hopefully, things will get better going forward. But at least not for BC. So this year, I don't think BC will be um, um, seeing a lot of action in terms of PNP. I think better action would be seen in Ontario. That's a place where you would want to be, and also the number of RCIP communities here is on an all-time high. So I think this is the place where you would want to stick around and make sure that you want to have a PR. In another update on the processing times, guys, at this moment, processing times are improving a bit with delays in specific times. So there are mixed trends in the month of May 2025. If you look at the processing times at the moment, what is important to see that a lot of people are inside Canada and waiting for their temporary residence, that is their work permit. So if you are applying for a work permit extension from inside Canada, or the initial one. Right now, the processing time is sitting at 233 days. You heard that right. If you are inside Canada applying for your initial work permit, or you are applying for an extension, right now the timeline that you are sitting at is 233 days. 233 days to look at your work permit inside Canada. If you were to do a work permit from outside Canada, say for example from India, um, right now the processing time is sitting at 17 weeks. Approximately 5 months, 5 to 6 months is what you're looking at. Earlier, this time from US was a lot. It has now pumped up again to 12 weeks. Right now, if you're applying for a work permit from US, as you can see, 12 weeks is the timeline. This is a bit up from the past thing that we saw on 1st of May. So our last live, we did cover this. Um, Apart from this, the visitor visa from outside Canada. So if you're applying for a visitor visa from India, the processing time is sitting at 19 days. This is a bit higher than the 18 days that we saw last time we were live when we were live. So yes, um, say close to a month worth wait of a visitor visa from India. So like I said, mixed trends all over. Couple of places are going up in terms of processing time. Couple of places are going low. Right now, if you apply for a visitor visa from Pakistan, it's looking at 25 days, so which is not bad. So apparently, the war situation in India and Pakistan did not affect the processings that much. This is an update as of 6th of May. Once this gets updated next week, then we will see what kind of an impact did the last week have. Uh, okay. The other couple of things that we are looking at is the impact of lesser number of students in Canada. Right now, the drop in the number of um, the drop in the number of Canadian students is, or international students in Canada, is affecting the people in, or the DLIs in Canada at the most. A lot of universities, and every week we cover on this, a lot of universities and colleges are shutting down, and they're basically shutting down their courses, putting a pause or suspension on the number of courses. And this time they are suspending in the region of northeastern Ontario. Northeastern Ontario is up north and east towards Ottawa. Algoma University sees a 50% drop in enrollment but avoids layoffs. Guys, this is a big, big number. And it is worth billions of dollars to see universities like Algoma, Sault Ste. Marie, which is which is one of the major hub of colleges. They have suspended enrollments in 5 programs. It's a big deal, and Algoma used to be one of the bigger drawing power of international students from a lot of countries. I think the lobbying around this particular category of people or these colleges and these DLIs will come into picture later in this year. So for now it is fine, but once IRCC starts seeing a major drop, and also the US tariffs are still, they haven't still gone away completely. I believe IRCC will have to come up with a better strategy, because this is a complete fall in, it's a complete economic loss, right? They will have to find a way to put an end to this, and also have the businesses and the DLIs, because at the end, if this continues to happen, IRCC or Canada will see a lot of attrition. There'll be a lot of people who will be losing jobs, which is not going to be healthy for the community and the Canadian economy at large, right? I think they will have to fix this before it gets out of hand. Overall, yes, I believe these are the couple of updates that we have from the Canadian immigration side at the moment. I believe this is about time when we started looking at the questions, and then we'll try to see what kind of an answer that we can provide to people. So I see a couple of questions right now. Gunur 507, I've already talked about this in the beginning of this video. I believe you will have to rewind a bit, my friend. I have talked about this at a good length. So for all the questions around CC and draws, whether you can expect below 500 or not, I believe you will have to look at this video, because we've covered this at an extensive length in this video. And just to let you know, yes, we will have CC draws coming in. And the reason why there have been no CC draws is probably because of the IT related glitches and the removal of the job offer points or the arranged employment points. That is one of the major reasons. But this one is a good question. Any chance of a OINP human capital draw? Jay, chances of a human capital priority draw are obviously, in my opinion, quite high, because we haven't had any HCP draws this year so far. What's interesting to see is that OINP is severely backlogged, and that is the reason that they gave at the previous appearance of OINP related representatives at one of the expos in downtown Toronto, that Ontario PNP is facing with backlogs, and they are trying to deal with those backlogs and trying to come up with the inventory. Also, they already have an existing inventory to deal with. Upcoming numbers in 2025's worth of a PNP have already dropped. So they already have certain people who are backlogged in terms of decision making. They already have an inventory from the previous invitations, and the newer inventory is pretty low. They're trying to balance off these three portions of an equation, and that is why they're probably holding on to the draws. I, of course, want them to, hold draws so that people can start coming in. I believe, yes, once the CC draws start coming in, then we should start seeing YNP draws to follow, especially human capital, because we have always seen that human capital draws are at least 10 points lower than the CC draws, and that is pretty obvious also, right? If IRCC is inviting people, and if then you send a draw or an OINP invite to them, what's the point? People will not accept it, right? So once the CC draws start flowing in, then the HCP draws should start following in. That's my assessment. Um, so Shmita, we already had an express entry healthcare draw. I don't think there should be one anytime soon, but yes, I still believe that there are still a lot of vacant places left in the healthcare draw, because the previous healthcare draw was sitting at 510 with only 500 invites. So there's still a lot of expectation. There's still a lot of room left for people to be invited. I think, yes, more draws should follow. If not anytime soon, then at least this year we should have close to 3,500, 4,000. We don't have a proper number to that yet, but yes, it should happen. Um, Neha, 490 CC is good, or should I wait or apply for BCPNP? Neha, a balance between 490 worth of an express entry and a probability of applying for BCPNP, I think you should go ahead and apply for PNP, because express entry, though, you can always keep it active. So there is no question of whether I should be doing an express entry file or I should be applying for PNP. There is no question, there is no comparison. You can have both of them active. Whichever gives you an invitation first, go ahead with it. So don't hold back on any applications. If you are thinking of something else will happen, yes, if there was a question that should I apply for one PNP and should I wait for the other one, that is a good question, which is normally not the case with a lot of people, because a lot of PNPs have a conflicting situation that you cannot apply for multiple PNPs simultaneously. So take care of that. But if it's only a question between applying for express entry, which is federal, and then applying for BC PNP or anything, then sure, go ahead and apply for both. Um, you know, Create your UI profiles in both, and whichever gives you an invitation first, you should go ahead with that. Um, uh, Okay, good question. Akshay, how to increase points besides learning French? I know, my friend, a lot of people struggle with learning French, but there are a couple of ways on how you can increase your express entry scores if you don't want to learn French. First, gaining international work experience is a very important and pathway that we have been utilizing it for the past couple of years. Although recently it has gained a lot of traction because people have now started misusing it, but yes, gaining foreign work experience then can give you up to 50 points in combination with what your existing scores are. Try to improve your IELTS scores, LPIP scores. Go for another test. I've heard PT, people are preferring PTE as well and CELPIP. So if you have appeared for IELTS, try to look at another language exam that might help you. If you have a COQ possibility, you can get a COQ, certificate of qualification, that might give you additional 50 points. So that is also something that you can try. Also, having second year of Canadian experience or third year of Canadian experience, that can give you a couple of additional points, up to 25 points for the second year as well. So yes, these are the couple of pathways which you can utilize if you want to increase your points in express entry apart from just French. I hope that helps. um, Okay, could you share your thoughts and experience with HNC grounds permanent residence application? What has been the timeline and your experience of submission to decision? Okay, so HNC files, the last couple of files that we did, we received medical and end-to-end PR approval within, I think the last one was about 12 months. Yeah, we got the medical at the 6th month mark, and then the file got approved within 12 months. That was the quickest that we saw. But generally, I can have a check at what is the humanitarian condition. Just humanitarian compassionate file. Just give me a second. So right now, agency is taking 22 months. That's the advisory that has been given by IRCC in the processing times. But in my opinion, um, good files can be processed in about 12 to 16 months. The last file that we did got processed within 12 months. So HNC is quite a good application. But before you take up HNC, you have to be prepared with a couple of things. So HNC is not meant for everybody. Uh, Actually, anybody can apply. So it's meant for everybody and not everybody at the same time. HNC, by the name itself, appears that anybody can apply. Okay, because it's just humanitarian and compassionate, and people think they can apply. But what they look at is their connections to Canada, the benefits of staying here, best interests of child. So there are a couple of verticals that you have to see, that are you eligible under an HNC or not, or is your profile good enough to be considered under HNC or not. And that's why the refusal rate of HNC applications is very, very high. Hence, get in touch with the practitioner, see what kind of applications or what kind of chances there are with your agency application, because applying for an agency does not give you any status. So if you are not left with any possibilities of getting a PR in Canada, don't just jump over to an agency just because it's available, because If you apply for it and if you're inside Canada, you will still have to maintain your status with the other applications that you do going forward. So HNC is an application, but not for status, only for permanent residence. I hope that helps. uh, uh, Okay, interesting question. I got 8 weeks EI benefits while I'm working for my current employer. Then I come back to work. Is it required to declare this period in PR application? Yes, my friend. If you were not attending work, if you were not working, or if you were only drawing EI benefits, then you cannot claim that in your Canadian experience class. In that particular case, what I would recommend is create two instances of your work history with the same employer under the similar details, and the gap of 8 months should be taken over in your personal history, so that shows a complete flow, like work history 1, then personal history, and work history 2, all in the same company, and then explain that in the letter of explanation. That should do the trick for you. But yes, working, like while being employed on EI benefits, is not Canadian experience class. That will not fetch you points because you were not working. uh, okay. Interesting question. I have experience in education field, but my age is above 35. So what are my chances? Seher, I still believe at the age of 35, if you try to hit the right CRS score with the English, with the right NOC code, right education, if you have it already, then I believe 479, the score that we saw previously, is still achievable. So education field still has a lot of potential based on the previous draw that we saw. If not in that, if you're in the right NOC code, education ECE related NOC codes, then even PNPs and RCIPs can be a very good option for you. So try to explore your field further, because just being in education field does not help. You have to be in the right NOC code as well. If you're just a teacher, then I think somewhere around 480 should be a decent score. For everybody else, try to look at a suitable NOC code or RCIP program. Uh, okay, let's look at other questions. Uh, okay, I'm trying to find an interesting question. What do you think? Let's take up a wrapping up question. Good question. Let's see. Hello, Sahil. My implied status is expiring on the 21st of this month, which is around about the corner. What do you suggest? I apply, visit, or still I wait till the decision is made? Can I still be able to work? Um, Implied status, I'm assuming that. So this one requires a couple of more details, my friend. How can you know that your implied status is ending? Are you talking about a PGWP extension, or the other one that you have applied where you get a WP/EXT letter? If that is so, then you don't have to worry about it. You can work for as long as your decision is made. You can work up until that. You don't have to apply for a visitor status as of now because your decision is still pending. After you get a decision, and I'm only talking in that perspective, okay? Because I don't know what is your exact situation. So broadly answering the question, if you apply for a work permit, or say if you apply for a PGWP within 90 days, that means you're authorized to work on implied status. You start working, then you can work up until your decision is made, irrespective of whether you have the implied status letter or not. If your letter is expiring, write a web form to IRCC, call IRCC, they can send it to you again. They can give an extension of that letter. But yes, you can work up until the decision is made. If the decision is negative, they will give you 90 days to restore your status and apply on something else. That is the specific answer to that particular part. Applying for visitor visa is not recommended at the moment because you don't need it. Applying for a visitor record would be required if you go on the restoration period. At that moment, yes, applying for a visitor record as a backup can be one of the solutions. But yes, try to have a better look at your situation, Nishit. I don't have much clarity into that. So yeah. Okay, I've seen so many people asking if they should apply to extend their PGWP when they're ineligible. Do you know anyone who has a PR application rejected for doing this? I will not do this. Curious. Good question. I haven't seen anybody. While yes, it is correct that you're not advised to apply for a PGWP extension because of the sole fact that PGWP can never be extended. Hence, PGWP extension does not exist, should not be applied for logically. People are still applying for it because people are applying for an open work permit extension based on bridging or PR and whatnot, everything under the sun. But those are bogus, fake work permit extensions, will definitely be refused. Now, people use it creatively for a couple of things. My only input to that is that if IRCC catches you in terms of gamifying the system, then IRCC can give you a misrep of 5 years. Have I seen a misrep on that? No, not so far. I haven't seen anybody being refused or anybody receiving a misrep of 5 years. But does that mean nobody can get it? No. IRCC can give a misrep to anybody. Right now, we are seeing PFLs all over the place. In fact, the study, along with was just exploring social media, and one of my RCC friends, he sent it to me as well. Um, Apparently, people who are studying on work permits like less than 6 months, they are also getting PFLs with the specific dates. So IRCC is adopting a very, very strict outlook towards processing of files. Yes, you can do that. Perfect, guys. That's a wrap up for today. And like I said, if you have any further questions, if you have any personal situations to discuss with us, please feel free to schedule an appointment with us. We would be more than happy to speak with you. Our details are there on the screen. If you want us to take over your profiles, we can help you in creating applications. We do provide services for all immigration application verticals. So PR application, work permits, extensions, study permits, we do everything. We'll be happy to help you out. Book an appointment, we'll have a look at your case, and then we'll move forward. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I do recommend that you subscribe to us and follow us on social media. We'll be more than happy to be a part of your journey going forward. Guys, I wish you all the best, and I really hope to see you soon in Canada. All the best.